Hey everyone, welcome back for my last demo. I'm going to do a sandwich. I didn't want to spend too much time on sandwiches. I was looking through the book and the recipes are pretty familiar to you, I would think. One thing about sandwiches, some of my tips for you is first of all, get a good solid bread. And if white bread or sourdough is something you're used to, you might want to step out of your comfort zone a little bit. Try a dark bread, a pumpernickel or rye. You could try an onion roll, all kinds of breads to try. Second, when you are working with bread, you want to spread your mayonnaise, peanut butter, butter, whatever it is, all the way to the edges. For me, I also like to do, if I'm doing like mustard and mayo, I want to do mustard on one side, mayo on the other, or you could do mustard and mayo on both. You don't want to overfill a sandwich. When you have your deli meats, today we're going to use some deli meats, and you want to make sure they're sliced thin. And if at all possible, kind of fold them up while you are making your sandwich. I thought we'd do a sandwich that's a little bit different, and this is called a Monte Cristo. It's a deep fried sandwich. We don't have a deep fryer here in this kitchen, so we're going to use a shallow fry technique. Believe it or not, we start without a spread on a Monte Cristo. We've got some ham. We're going to layer down a couple of slices of ham evenly across the bread. We're going to take some sliced turkey. And I'm doing this barehanded because I'm serving this to family, but obviously if you were doing this in a restaurant or for people that you're not familiar with, you would probably want to wear gloves or tongs to move it around. And then I'm going to take some Swiss cheese and put it on top and close up my sandwich, make sure it's even all the way across. The next step in this is I've got an egg and milk batter. So it's kind of like French toast. And really it's interesting because this is kind of a savory French toast. I'm going to put that in the egg and milk mix. And I'm going to let it soak just for maybe 30 seconds or so. In the meantime, I've had my oil heating on the stovetop at about 375. You can test oil when you're doing it at home by using a piece of bread, or some people like to splash water into it. If it splashes back, it's hot enough. Obviously, just like testing for the doneness of meat, the best way to do it would be to use a thermometer. Okay? So we let that soak up just like we would with French toast. Right? And then we're going to bring it over here to we're going to let that drip off a bit. We're going to have a little bit of splattering when we bring it over to the oil. So we want to drop it in gently. And we're going to fry it. Probably about a minute or so on each side. Again, if we had enough oil, we'd be able to cover it completely. If we did do it in a deep fryer, we probably have to put some toothpicks in it as well. Okay? So we're going to let that fry just for a little bit longer. By the way, on my stovetop, I had demoed spanakopita earlier, and I have the finished product right here if you want to take a look at that finished product on the spanakopita. Okay, so we got that fried up on that side. Now when you flip these, you want to flip them away from you. Sometimes it's easier, and I think I'm going to do that right now, it's easier to put this on another board, and let's come right over here, and then we'll flip it back like this, beautiful color, get our spatula back underneath it, and this way we can get it back in the pan without splattering too much oil on us. Okay? So let's bring this back over. Light it off gently, and we get that frying again. We use the paper towel to soak up any excess oil, which we want to do on this sandwich. Okay? If we don't have our oil hot enough, what's going to happen is that bread is just going to soak up all that oil, and we just have a big oily mess. But by having our oil hot enough, we're just doing something, making it crisp rather than soggy. So what we have right here is our oil. And I was just thinking that, you know, you probably could just fry this in butter if you wanted to for this sandwich, using the same batter. Now let's get this out. Let some of that oil drip off. But we definitely want to get this onto a paper towel. And actually, we're going to get a little bit of other paper towel, and I'm going to put soak a little bit on top as well. Now this wouldn't happen so much in a deep fryer. There are also Monte Cristo recipes that use more of a kind of a waffle batter, where you're surrounding the whole sandwich versus just soaking the bread. Okay, so we've got our sandwich. We've soaked it up, as much oil as we can. We want it nice and hot. Now what's interesting about this sandwich is that we are going to serve it with a raspberry dipping sauce, and all I did was use some Smucker's red raspberry jam, melted, oops, let me grab the paper towel, melted in the microwave. And we also finished the sandwich, believe it or not, with a little bit of powdered sugar. So let me grab a knife real quick to finish this up. And I'm going to slice it in half. I like to go in triangles for me. I'm going to hit it with a little powdered sugar. You can use a strainer basket for this, or if you have a powdered sugar sifter, that works as well. We're going to bring it over here to our plate. We're going to give it a somewhat of an interesting presentation. Stack it. We put our raspberry sauce in the middle, and voila, we have our beautiful Monte Cristo. You can see in the middle of the sandwich there, the cheese is starting to melt, ham and turkey are hot, and then we dip. Thanks, you guys. See you in class.